Hello again, vinyl community. I'm back because I have a lot of records to show, and I want to put a little unboxing insert in here. Greetings, vinyl community. I came home from work this evening and found a surprise package on my doorstep. All the way from the UK, this is a surprise parcel from Peter at MDK 1958. And I have some various sharp implements here to get through the various layers of adhesive and security and what have you. You just talk amongst yourselves while I'm opening. And there are two items in here. This one is Dead Sea Apes Spectral Domain. I have no idea what this is. It looks like 4 or 5 tracks. Universal Interrogator, True Believers, The Unclosing Eye Brought to Light, and Sixth Side of the Pentagon. Well, that looks fascinating. I will investigate. And this is one I have seen before and been interested in. Costin Shoranu. I have no idea if that's how to pronounce that. The Day, the Night, and the Dream. And let's see. This is one disc and a large format booklet with art. And there was a message there. Where did the message go? Hi Michael, hope this finds you well. Want to thank you again for the CD. So I thought I'd send you a couple of albums. I hope they're to your taste, but if not, please feel free to pass them on to someone else who you think may enjoy them. Best regards, Peter. Well, Peter, you absolutely shouldn't have, but thank you so much. And, all right, let's go on from here. And a little more on those records so generously sent by Pete. Dead Sea Apes is a heavy instrumental, sort of psychedelic art rock. I'm reminded a little bit of the heavier version of Pink Floyd, a la maybe the first couple of tracks on Obscured by Clouds. And I did not show the actual disc, which is on this pinky purplish magenta, I think, vinyl. And I still don't know how to pronounce the name Costin Shoranu, but you're listening to this now. And the artwork is by the composer, and the booklet that's included shows how the music is tied in with the scenes in the artwork. Some items that just arrived today. The Beatles. I finally got a replacement of my old copy of Revolver on the lime green Capitol label, which was in use around 1969 into the early 70s. My original copy was from 1970, so really pleased to have that back in the stack. Next, Karlheinz Stockhausen. I've showed a lot of Stockhausen LPs over the course of these videos. He made so many albums for the Deutsche Grammophon label. I still don't have all of them, but I'm closing in. And this one, the two pieces, Communion, obviously means communion, and Intensitat, or Intensities, are two selections from his Aus den Sieben Tagen, from the 7 Days, a collection of works written in May 1968, which, and a word I use a lot in describing this kind of music is abstract, meaning that it doesn't follow the typically or conventionally musical harmonic, melodic, and rhythmic practices that people normally associate with what they call music. And there is no notation in these compositions. These are entirely textual instructions for the musicians to interpret. Now, I don't have the actual, they're like poems. I don't have the actual poems that go with these specific pieces, but here's the one that goes with another of the From the 7 Days compositions. This is the score for the piece Connection. It's all written in lowercase. Play a vibration in the rhythm of your body. Play a vibration in the rhythm of your heart. Play a vibration in the rhythm of your breathing. Play a vibration in the rhythm of your thinking. Play a vibration in the rhythm of your intuition. Play a vibration in the rhythm of your enlightenment. Play a vibration in the rhythm of the universe. Mix these vibrations freely. Leave enough silence between them. So that's it. There's no other way that the music is defined, so all the specifics are up to the individual musicians. And the third item that arrived today, Jaws, by Eddie Lockjaw Davis. This is from 1959. This is a reissue from the 80s, though. This is on the Prestige Fireworks label. It's the original Jazz Classics reissue. And this is a wonderful swinging album with Eddie Lockjaw Davis joined by Shirley Scott on the organ, and they just made a great team. The rest of the band is George Duvivier on bass and Arthur Edgehill on drums, and they're doing a lot of classic old standards here. I Let a Song Go Out of My Heart, which is one that I've been playing. That's why I love this so much. This is stuff that I'm still learning to play. I Let a Song Go Out of My Heart, Body and Soul, You Stepped Out of a Dream, But Not For Me. I've never played But Not For Me in public, but I've always wanted to introduce it as this is a song about your butt knot, and it's called But Not For Me. I made a trip up to San Francisco over the Memorial Day weekend, actually on Memorial Day, and as an early birthday present, I gave myself permission to pick up an expensive wall item, and this is what I chose. Fire Music by Archie Shepp on the Impulse label. And this is just a real classic album. Ted Curson on trumpet. I showed a Ted Curson LP last time. Joseph Orange on trombone, Archie Shepp on tenor, Marion Brown on alto, Reggie Johnson on drums, and Reggie Johnson on bass, and Joe Chambers on drums. And on one track, David Isenson on bass and J.C. Moses on drums. This is an original pressing on the ABC Paramount variation of the Impulse label. Also, while up in San Francisco, I found this album I really didn't know about before. Joseph Bowie, brother of Lester Bowie, and Oliver Lake duets for trombone and saxophone slash flute. This is from 1976, and it is on the Sackville label. The pieces are actually composed by Oliver Lake, but very free, just pieces that are used as a framework for very free improvisation. And another one that I didn't know anything about, Ned Rothenberg, Trials of the Argo, recorded in 1980, released in 1981 on the Lumina Records label. And it's two side-long pieces. The side two piece is a solo alto saxophone work. He evidently uses circular breathing because it's just continuous music. Side two is overdubbed for a whole host of instruments: alto saxes, C flutes, bass clarinets, blow dops, which is described as a 12-foot plastic tube played with a tenor mouthpiece, funnel, and sometimes with harmon mute, water flute, shakuhachi, and ocarina. And it starts out sounding a bit like Lou Reed's Metal Machine music, very dense, aggressive texture, but it thins out and actually does have a lot of variety over the course of the piece, even though it's purely textural music. This is one that's been on my want list for quite a while. Black Dance by Klaus Schulze, classic Berlin School electronic music. 3 lengthy pieces. And Schulze is featured on synthesizer, of course, organ, piano, percussion. There's a lot of beat going on here. It's got a motoric beat to it, so it's not as ambient as the next album would be, Time Wind. Phase trumpet, 12-string acoustic guitar, orchestra, and there is an operatic bass voice added to one piece, Voices of Sin, the side-long piece on side 2. Another track is titled Some Velvet Phasing, which I think brings to mind Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood. I'd actually been looking for this in the British release on Virgin, which is the edition that I had in the 70s. It's the German release on the Green Brain label. The one reason I really was hoping for the British version was because it doesn't have a logo on the cover. It's just a more pure version of the art. But this was in such nice condition that I couldn't pass it up. And from the same store, the person I bought these from said this is the commonest record that they have in the entire store. Alone Together by Dave Mason. And this, of course, is on the, what I remember being called, the pizza vinyl. He said they had a room full of them upstairs. And this also has the can't even show the whole thing in one go. Fold out cover with a little perforation to hang it on the wall. And oh yeah, there's music on it too. Actually, very good album, very good album. Anthony Davis, Variations in Dreamtime. This is from 1983 on the Indian Navigation label. And it's a very composed piece in the fusion of classical and jazz, with personnel being Anthony Davis on piano, George Lewis on trombone, Abdul Wadud on cello, Farron Akalaf on drums, J.D. Paran on clarinet, bass clarinet, and flute, and Rick Rosie on bass. And this is just an excellently composed and very engaging piece of music. I showed another version of this album in a previous video, The Complete Dancing Master. Fantastic album of traditional British country dances interspersed with readings of various bits of literature on the subject of dancing. The copy that I had on vinyl, that I have had on vinyl since the 70s when this was released, was a mispressing. And I did not know it at the time. It was actually side 1 of this album combined with side 2 of the very similar Rattlebone and Plowjack, which I also showed in a recent video. Picked this up. This is the American issue of the album on the Antilles label. And it's the first time I've had this on vinyl in the correct form. I never really heard the correct version. I actually think I heard somebody else's copy at some point. I'm not sure if I ever got to hear it all the way through, but I didn't really know what the deal was with the music that I was missing from side 2 until I got the CD reissue in the 2000s. And then several albums or several releases by the great Sun Ra. The Magic City, this is a great favorite of mine on the Impulse label. Part of the arrangement that was made in the 70s to reissue a number of Sun Ra projects, most of which had previously been released on his own Saturn label, others which were previously unreleased. And they got a fair number of these out on the market before Impulse just decided it was too crazy and they canceled the series. This is on this 70s Impulse label. The recording is actually from 1960, if the liner notes are to be believed, which is definitely not always the case with Sun Ra's recordings. And case in point, these recent reissues on the Modern Harmonic label. These are 2 more albums that were reissued in the 70s by Impulse. And these new reissues try to correct some of the misinformation that was on the sleeves of those Impulse reissues. All of these are classic Sun Ra in his most exploratory vein. So this is some of my favorite stuff by him. Astro Black features the song Astro Black, which is a feature for June Tyson on vocals as the opening track. And side 2 is all one long piece, The Cosmo Fire. And these reissues are on colored vinyl. So this is on this nice dark red color with a hair on it. I'll get that off later. Let's put this aside. And in a similar vein, Pathways to Unknown Worlds. If you look closely, you may see the UFO hovering over Sun Ra in the gatefold picture. And again, this is the very exploratory, very colorful in its use of instruments vein of Sun Ra's music. Again, has a sidelong title piece, Pathways to Unknown Worlds, although only 12.5 minutes. Actually, the first track on side 2 is longer than that for this release. The original version, as released on Impulse, was only 7 minutes, but they found a longer tape of it, so they've expanded extension out appropriately enough, extended it to 13 minutes. And the album is topped off with Cosmo Media Another 7 minutes of classic Sun Ra. And once again, it is on colored vinyl, this time on a sunny orange-yellow. They were having a special for Sun Ra's birthday through Sundazed Music, which supports the Modern Harmonic label. And where did it go? Here it is. They were offering as a bonus the 45 Plutonian Nights with the unreleased track on the B-side, Reflects Motion Part 1. And this is, once again, on colored vinyl. And comes in a card sleeve with a flap. I've never seen one quite like that before. Finally, the late great pianist Cecil Taylor in a solo concert work from 1976, Air Above Mountains, Buildings Within. This starts off with a very pounding, ominous, portentous work, just great crashing sounds in the bass, and moves on through so many textures that 50 minutes of solo piano just flies by. A poem by Cecil Taylor on the back, portrait of the old fellow right there. And that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. Thank you for commenting. Be well. Bye-bye for now.